We now have two houses of horror in Long Island. On November 13th, 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s brutal attack on his family sent shockwaves throughout the country. And thanks to several high-profile documentaries and movies, the crime he committed is an international phenomenon. But we now have a new home in Amityville to worry about. And what they're accused of doing is equally tragic. And where they're at right now has a whole lot of people up in arms, which has caused several people to start pointing fingers. So let's talk about it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Welcome to The Point, YouTube's last legitimate open discussion channel, where you can openly disagree without the fear of anybody blocking your comments or jumping down your throat, because my block button doesn't work. On February 29th, a young girl walking to school noticed a body part in Babylon near a local park. About a mile away from that incident, later on in that day, a police dog was able to find a leg. Then another dog was able to locate an arm about 20 feet deeper into the woods where the original arm was found. Then police were able to locate two heads, which sent a whole lot of people speculating that this had some sort of ties to gang-related activity. In all, a head, an arm, and a leg were said to belong to an unidentified woman, and the two arms and other head belonged to an unidentified male. Both are reportedly in their early to late 50s, from Yonkers in Westchester County. Now, the man's fingertips were removed from the hand, which led investigators to believe that this person may have had some type of previous criminal activity, and they were hoping the tattoos would help identify him. And while the one on the upper part of the arm I can't quite make out, the one on his hand certainly appears to me as if it says the word Sandy with a heart above it. Now, if you see anything differently, you can let me know down in the comments below. Now, the investigation would take the police to a home on Railroad Avenue in Amityville. And the police would end up staying there sometime between 10:30 that night well into the morning. In total, police would bring charges to 4 individuals: Jeffrey Mackey, Alexis Nieves, Stephen Brown, and Amanda Wallace. Police would go on to tell the local community that they believed this was an isolated incident and that everyone was safe. They would also say that they had reason to believe that this was some type of love triangle that went south. Mackey's attorney would issue a public statement saying his client had nothing to do with this, that he just happened to live at that home. But what all 4 of those individuals are charged with has a lot of people raising their eyebrows. All 4 are currently charged with hindering a prosecution, tampering with physical evidence, and concealment of a body. And investigators would tell reporters that they have reason to believe that those 4 individuals removed sharp implements from the home and similar items, as well as human remains and other related material. And can we not all agree that this type of crime is absolutely horrific, and the people who did this crime probably shouldn't be walking the streets? But to your surprise, all 4 individuals are currently walking free right now. They were charged and then they were released. Now, the idea that somebody can do something like this, be charged and then walk free, is an absolute shock to me. In fact, I would make a safe assumption that almost everybody who watches this channel, wherever you live right now, if you were to do something like this, you would probably be behind bars and your bail would probably be so high nobody could afford it, or they would deny you bail altogether and just say you're a danger to the community. But apparently in the state of New York, it is wrong to pass somebody away. But you can certainly go move that body, chop it up, do whatever you want to it, get charged, and then go walk back on the streets that following afternoon. And given the graphic nature of this crime, it has had a lot of people within the state of New York to call for change.
Well, I mean, does it make sense? I don't think it makes sense.
Tina Troy lives in Babylon, near the park where body parts were first discovered last week.
How do 4 individuals who brutally chop up 2 human beings under any circumstances walk free?
I think it's actually insane that we're here and that we have to put this bill in to begin with.
They're not understanding how anybody who could be charged with a crime like this is allowed to walk free. And several individuals within that state's government, as well as the DA, are pushing for changes from the governor and making accusations against her, saying that her policies towards crime are way too relaxed. But Governor Hochul is not taking this one lying down. In fact, she's firing back.
Thursday, Governor Hochul blamed Suffolk's DA for the defendant's release, saying he should have charged the four with bail-eligible crimes. Ray Tierney called that assertion baffling and demanded bail reform be rewritten.
It makes sense. I'm not a rocket science, but it makes sense, right?
Blaming the Suffolk County DA for not doing a more thorough investigation. She cites that if they would have done their job better, they could have came up with passing away charges, conspiracy charges, or assault charges, which in the state of New York are all bail-eligible charges. Now, the DA, of course, makes a statement saying that that's absolutely ridiculous, there needs to be a change here. But is this not a particular argument where both sides are right? Yes, investigators should absolutely do the best job they can before bringing charges to anybody. But the state as a whole does certainly need to address this shortcoming within their law. But remember now, investigators have said that they believe this is an isolated incident and everybody within the community is safe. Well, how can they make that assessment if they don't know who actually committed this crime? Because if they actually knew who committed the crime, they could bring charges. Those four individuals, while not proven guilty yet, are able to walk those streets freely. But if law enforcement doesn't have any way to prove who actually committed this crime, they should not be telling the community that they're safe. How anybody can remove limbs from another individual and walk the streets afterwards is an absolute shock to me. And the fact that these suspects live where they live is absolutely mind-blowing. Let me know if you've heard about this story down in the comments below. It is absolutely mind-blowing what has transpired in the state of New York. As always, if you see any of these things differently, you can let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.